Alright, what's up guys? So it's been a very long time. For those of you who may not know me from this video, my name is Amir. I'm the owner of this channel, YouTube USMLE Live. And basically, since about 2018, I've ran courses every year where I go through all the topics that are in First Aid Step 1, First Aid Step 2 CK, and then we go through a bunch of other relevant topics such as UWORLD, AMBOSS, NBME, and so on. So right now, for the next 3 months, I'm basically off from work and I'm going to be doing a full fresh course again for the 2023-2024 session, essentially starting next week, for step 1 and step 2. And what I wanted to do in this session right now is kind of leave it open to a Q&A, so you guys can ask any questions you might have regarding this upcoming course, and then just kind of go over the course outline. So everyone that's joining in can really just, type in your questions in the chat. I'll take a look and I'll try to respond the best as I can. But generally, this is what we have for the course outline, right? So we're going to follow first aid from start to end and revisit various high yield topics as recommended. Students will be provided a study calendar to pace themselves before our sessions if they wish to be ahead of things. Step 1 schedule is going to look like we are going to meet on weekends, 9 a.m. ET. And Monday and Wednesday at 9 a.m. ET. So ET is basically Eastern time. That's the time I'm in. I'm in New York City. And then for step 2 CK, we're going to meet at 12 noon on weekends. And then Tuesday and Thursday at 12 noon. All right, so there might be small changes here and there to whatever the schedule is going to be. But generally speaking, all sessions will be recorded. So when a session is done, we're going to go ahead and give you access to the recordings of those sessions, and then you can just access that as you need to study, maybe because you're busy or because you need to review something that you saw and you didn't quite catch it the first time I said it, whatever the reason might be. So sessions will involve the following, and it's not limited to this. There may be other things we'll do as well. In-depth review of high yield first aid topics over 2-hour sessions. So each of these sessions that we're meeting for, the step 1 sessions, the step 2 sessions, each session is going to be about 2 hours. It could be more, it could possibly be lower, but very unlikely. It takes about 2 hours to go through any topic. I've been working out the nits and the nooks and crannies of basically every single topic we're going to go over in these upcoming classes, and it takes about 2 hours to really go through the topic and then talk about it clinically, and then actually do some practice questions relevant to that topic. You're also going to have simultaneous attempts at practice questions. So the other two things I have open on the screen next to this course outline are First Aid Step 1 and First Aid Step 2, my annotated versions. We're going to do a quick run through to see what that looks like. Those are the key materials I'll be using throughout the course, and those are kind of my bread and butter for this channel as well. Ever since I first started in 2018, that was what really got my channel going. The annotated version of my first aid is pretty much everything everyone loved. People bought it left and right, and everyone utilized it as efficiently as possible, and it was extremely beneficial. So we'll be using that, and it takes about 2 hours per topic. Looking at the practice questions tends to be the more significant aspect of the study, because then you get to see, you read something, maybe you thought you understood it, but then you see it in a practice question and you really understand it a lot better, because now you get to see how it's going to show up. We're going to do dedicated days looking at Q banks and full NBME. So for example, one of the Saturdays might be a longer session where we're just going to go through like a set of 40 questions on some Q bank, or some week maybe dedicated to really just brushing through a full NBME. Now you will also be provided access to everything, right? So the last bullet point there, access to all the annotated notes, which in itself are pretty expensive to get a handle on. I'm going to provide it all to you guys, everyone that joins the entire mastery course. And then of course the main thing here is going to be that it'll be interactive. So for example, right here, like Anya, Vanessa, they're typing things and I can see it and I can respond to that. I also have my phone right here, which will also be open for chats, and really is just going to allow me to see what people are thinking, as I teach, see what people are kind of wondering more about, and I can break it down. should any student have questions on a topic or are struggling with something, we can schedule a talk to clarify the issues as well. Now, the course is going to be a maximum of 100 students because in the past I've done about 50, and it used to be a little hard, but then I got a hang of it. I really understood how to like handle taking on 50 students at a time and really just, being able to provide everyone efficiently. And I've learned that because of how I do things now, I can take on 100 students. The reason being that almost half of the 50 students in previous classes weren't really in the live sessions, right? Most of the students were too busy to actually be there for every single live session. So live sessions were mostly about 10 to 15 students at a time, and we would, ask questions, look at things. Some students would ask me to describe something a little more in a different manner, or teach something in sort of more specific manner. So that being said, if it's, if all 100 students aren't actually there live, then it's okay to be able to take on more students just so they can have access to everything. And then the ones that are not there live are usually the ones that had more questions for me. So they would email me, something they saw in one of my notes or something they saw in one of my recordings, and then they have some questions on it. I would break it down for them. So the course itself is just $1,000. Now, it sounds like a lot to a lot of people, and I know that most of my viewers and subscribers are all from the the East, right? So like I have people that are watching from China, I have people that are watching from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, all over the place on the East. And I understand that this could be a lot over there, but realistically speaking, in America, $1,000 is pretty much not considered a very vast amount. And what I want to compare it to really is just the fact that medical education is extremely expensive. So I broke it down over here. I wrote that this is $1,000 for the whole 3-month program. It's a 3-month thing at 8 hours a week, because each of these 4 days, right, 2 hours every day. And then over 3 months, it comes out to almost about 100 hours, and you're effectively really just paying $10 an hour at that point. And you get all the explanations that I worked hours to kind of put together, right? I go through all NBME questions, and then I like copy paste images and copy paste notes and references and explanations for people so that you can really understand how to pretty much beat your NBME. I know that's a big place a lot of students struggle in. Many schools require passing NBME before you can even get permission to go take step one. And I have an effective tool that has worked for me in the past, and with all the students I've actually interacted with over the last few years. 5 years now, right? 5 years of this, right? I started in 2018. It's 2023 coming to an end now. NBME, if you need to pass it, the only thing that's actually going to help you is to just do all the NBMEs, right? Now there's a bunch. For step one, I have NBME 2231, all of them. Full explanations with images and breakdown, and all you really got to do is spend a day to go through an entire NBME, read the question, read the explanation, understand what's happening there, maybe revisit the topic in first aid if you really don't know what's happening for that one question, and then just move on. What you realize after having looked at all of these NBMEs, there's about 12 I can probably provide explanations to. You realize that some topics are repeated, some topics are repeated almost the same exact way, while others are going to be repeated with a change in the question. So the answer choice becomes different. But if you look at just the answer choices, it's the same answer choices as it was before. So if you were trying to memorize stuff, you would kind of end up picking the same answer choice, but it would be wrong now. And it's how medicine works, right? So for NBME, you don't need to be a first aid master. You don't need to be like prepared for step one, essentially speaking. For NBME, you really just need to be prepared for NBME. The question types are different. The way questions are presented are different. Sometimes you'll see questions on things that were never mentioned anywhere in first aid, never mentioned anywhere in KAPLAN, and you never see it in UWORLD or AMBOSS, etc. So you really do have to just go through NBME explanations to kill that. But at the same time, although you don't need to be ready for step one to kill NBME, you do need to kill NBME to be ready for step one, right? The other way, it is a thing. So once you kill NBME, you kind of have ascended to a higher level where you're really much more prepared to finish your step one and succeed. When it comes to residency, you don't want to mess that up. So now many of you may know before step one was scored as a 3-digit number, right? Where generally speaking, about 192 to 196 was passing. Everyone wanted to get a 240 or 250 and higher because that's kind of what was deemed respectable. When you apply for residency in ERAS, there are you look at Residency Explorer, which is a website that kind of breaks down every single residency program for you, telling you their requirements, what they're looking for. Many of them will have requirements where they need a step 1 of 220 or higher, or they need a step 1 of 230 or higher. Otherwise, your application just kind of just gets tossed aside, and they don't even really look at it. Now, no one really knows how everything works in ERAS and residency, but that cutoff point is a pretty significant thing. So now step 1 is just pass fail, and because of that, a lot of students are not really studying for step 1 as intensely as they used to, and that's kind of rubbing off in the step 2. So now, ever since step 1 became pass fail, these stats are probably going to come out soon. I don't have the stats, but I know from the students I interact with through my channel that more students are failing step 2 than used to before, right? Because what happened before was people would study really, really hard for step 1. Sometimes people would fail step 1 once and then take it again and kill it, but then they would definitely not fail step 2 because they studied so hard for step 1. Now people are not studying as hard for step 1. They end up passing step 1, which is all they really needed, but then it starts showing up, the lack of effort in their step 1 education starts showing up on their step 2, and they end up either scoring very low or failing, and that's really bad. That's really bad because at this time, ERAS, residency, all of that, which is the goal, right? The ultimate goal for all of us watching this video trying to pass USMLE is to match into residency. You have to kill step 2. You have to get at least a 240 or higher. 250 or higher is even better, and so on, obviously. But 240 is that cutoff point where, like if you got a 236, you're super happy too. You're fine, right? Because there's a plus or minus about 10 to 15 on either direction due to standard deviation, so it's not the worst thing. So you have to study effectively. It doesn't matter that it's just pass fail now. You still need to study as if you're trying to get like a 250 on step 1, and then that reflects, the efforts you put into step 1 preparation reflects in your step 2. Now, these are 2 separate classes that are going to be running, right? So if you're someone who's pretty much done with your step 1, then you can jump into my step 2 course, right? And if you're kind of about to take step 1, maybe you're going to take it in like January, February, March, something along those lines, then this is perfect for you, right? Even if you've already studied for step 1 and you feel like you just need a refresher, or you're like starting up your step 1 studies, no matter who you are in your step 1 path, this is perfect for you because we're going to go through every single high yield topic. So now I'm going to dive into like how we're going to do it, right? And kind of just show you the resources. So right here I have my updated annotated first aid step 1. Basically what I do is I go through multiple different areas of resources to really take notes and put it all into one condensed area. So you can see here, like I've got images that I found throughout different places that kind of really help drive the goal home. And then the key thing that has been most effective is you'll be reading things, and you might think you understood what you read here, biochemistry, everyone's favorite. And then you have pictures to really drive the mission home, right? And I explain whatever this picture was here for. It really helps you understand, like, for example, in this image, it's really about the naming of nucleotides and nucleosides and what makes a nucleotide, which is a nucleotide is just one phosphate, right? Everything else is a nucleoside. And this little silly one thing, just the one letter of S or T, can cost you a question. And after looking at this, really diving into it, making sure everything's super simple and clear, we have a practice question to kind of see how complicated this topic can be for you on presentation, right? This is what I do throughout the book. So that was a biochem thing. Here I've got some more images that are kind of breaking things down for you. If we jump to, like, for example, microbiology, I've got a bunch of, charts from different resources, more practice questions to kind of really gauge how the topic will present, right? You need to be able to kill the topic. You need to understand the thing that you're going to get tested on, the confusing aspect of it, where you might get 3 bugs that all cause diarrhea, but because the diarrhea lasted a certain amount of time, or because the person ate or drank something before the diarrhea initiated, or because they were hospitalized, only one answer choice is the most optimal answer choice. The others are all just there and potential answer choices, but not the best, right? You have to keep in mind that it is true that most times when you're doing any question, 2 answer choices are possibly correct. It's very well possible. 2 answer choices are possibly correct, but only one is the best answer choice, and that's the one you pick, right? That's the thing that catches people. I've got images here to really drive everything home. And when we do our sessions, you get access to this. Everyone that signs up for the course gets access to this book. You can actually move things around. You can actually edit things. If you double click on some of the pictures, I have like a full breakdown of what that picture really means for. If we jump into, for example, pathology, same thing, right? I've got notes from multiple different resources to really summarize everything into one page. And then when you're reading it, it's no longer as boring as, for example, the blank first aid may be. The blank first aid is definitely extremely boring to go through, and you will find it almost impossible to kind of just keep reading and reading and reading. Here, you have so much going on that you take your time reading it, and then the best filler is usually these questions, right? You look at a practice question and then you kind of get to like drive away from what you were originally reading. Without any of these notes on the screen, it's so much more boring than the way it is now. On top of that, if we go into like much harder topics, let's jump to like, for example, neurology, everyone's favorite. There's a lot happening, right? In neurology, it's a whole different world when you get into neurology. You have all the different parts of the brain, what their functions are, and so on. I've got pictures and notes for days, right? Now, this is what I've heard from everyone that basically bought the book, everyone that used my resources. The pictures, the notes, and the practice questions that are annotated throughout the book are what have helped everyone get through first aid effectively, right? Just reading the blank first aid is so difficult because it gets boring, it's monotonous, and the most important part, forget boring, everything can be boring, it's kind of useless. The blank first aid, the actual just first aid, not my annotated version, is missing so much information that you then kind of get when you go to UWORLD or go to AMBOSS, right? But then you kind of feel shitty at that point. For example, you might actually be reading something in first aid. Let's say you finished all the neurology, you've been studying it for 2 weeks, you feel good, you've revised a few things, you looked at all the different tracks and everything, and then you go into your first aid and you go into UWORLD and you start doing like practice questions and stuff, and boom, next thing you know, you're getting everything wrong because you never really saw like pictures like this, right? Like, for example, here the blank first aid doesn't have this image, and it doesn't really have anything else besides just telling you the dorsal column, spinal thalamic tract, lateral corticospinal tract, and then that's it. I put these pictures here, right, to really drive home the different parts of the tract that are significant, right? Spinal level, medullary level, what's at the pons level, what's in the midbrain. So, for example, the lateral corticospinal tract, right here on this side, the most important parts of it are the bolded parts, the internal capsule, the cerebral peduncle, right? The caudal medulla is where it decussates. You need to know these things. Now, yes, it does list it out for you. It does tell you a lot of these things here, but not in a visually appealing manner, right? And seeing it like this really drives the point to home. Same thing here. You can see spinal thalamic tract is super simple, probably the easiest one to understand because it decussates immediately in the spinal level, and then the only thing it really uses is the spinal lemniscus. Everything about spinal thalamic tract is spinal, and then at the very top in the thalamus, it goes to the VPL, ventral posterior lateral nucleus. These discussions are videos as well, right? There's full videos for step 1 on my channel, full videos for step 2 on my channel. Just become a member and then you can see everything, and I'll run through it all, talk to you about it. And one of my favorite things that I've heard the most from students, it was weird at first, is when some students took their test, some of the questions that they did, it was almost like they could hear me describing stuff to them in their mind, and that's how they would recall. That's what they would recollect every time they approach a certain question. Maybe something I said somewhere stuck to them. As you could tell, even in this current video, I don't really always have something prepared to read off of and talk from, but I do my best to kind of speak as coherently as possible. This is basically how I would try to speak with, for example, maybe a patient or anyone else that I'm trying to educate something about, and I try not to make any mistakes in what I'm saying. We all do make mistakes, and I'm sure I've made mistakes here and there, but as far as my videos are concerned, any mistakes I ever made, I caught them, and when I did catch them, I edited it into the video. So the videos are essentially flawless and do an amazing job, and most students tend to play it at a little higher speed so you can just get through it quicker. And it's extremely effective. As you can see, I have a similar layout for the step 2 as well, right? So if we come to the ECG section for step 2, which is the first thing you try to master, cardiovascular, I've got more images and diagrams and notes to kind of really take the concept home so that it just sticks to you. No chance of you missing it. And then if there's something that you didn't quite catch, or maybe you thought you understood everything that you read in this image, the other images are going to better help you see it, right? And then you can really become an expert at the topic, because that's kind of what we have to do to pass USMLE, right? We have to be an expert at everything, as if we're going to become a gastroenterologist, an endocrinologist, and a neurologist at the same time. It's just that hard of a test. I've got a bunch of practice ECGs here now, right? More than what the book is giving you, to really drive to home what every single topic is supposed to look like, right? Full ECGs to really give you a clear understanding of what it is you need to know. And as always, as you go along, you're going to start catching practice questions to, again, lock in how something is going to present. And this is throughout the book as well. So I have the full step 2 videos on my channel, and practice questions everywhere to really help you see every single question you're reading, how is it going to present. Every single topic you're reading, how is that going to show up on your test. And when we do our course, these are the 2 books. If you sign up for step 1, we're going to use the step 1 book. If you sign up for the step 2 course, we're going to use the step 2 book, and so on. For whatever course you're signing up for, these are the books that are going to kind of just drive everything home, help you master the topic, and then really just show you everything you need to know so you can sit down confidently on your test, kill it, and then eventually, God willing, match into residency. So that being said, if you have any questions whatsoever, my email address is right here on the right side of the screen, I believe, or right below me somewhere. And then you can just shoot me an email anytime, ask me anything you need to. And if you're trying to sign up for the class, if you have any questions regarding that, of course, feel free to email me, and we can set that up. I'm tentatively trying to start this up by, I would say, let me just take a look at my calendar real quick. Yeah, so like October's coming to an end. I'm trying to get this started Monday, November 6th. So or November 4th, actually. That Saturday would be a good one to get it started. So by then, if we can get to 100 students, we're good to go. Right now, I already have 37 students, so that's already set. And then we'll take whatever we can get, and hopefully we can get a whole 100 students and no one misses out. Share this with your med school. Share this with any of your friends that you think may need it. Share this with any of your other colleagues that you're studying with on those Skype groups, WhatsApp groups, whatever it is. Share this with everyone. I would really appreciate it. And then let's get this channel going, because thanks to you guys, I remember in 2018 when I first started, it was like no one was there. I was live, I was teaching, I was recording videos, recorded over 400 videos at one point. But one day, thanks to you guys, all of a sudden things just started blowing up. And I would imagine it was because someone shared something on Facebook or some WhatsApp group. And it really felt good, because I went into medicine because I love teaching. And when I finally started seeing a fan base of students that are learning from me, really grasping topics from me, and someone that I'm actually helping, it was one of the best feelings ever. And nowadays, sometimes I go places and I actually crash into people that recognize me. And that's, again, another great feeling. The best thing about pretty much anything we do for people selflessly is when people come back and tell us it really helped, and I'm happy to do that for all of you guys as well. So thank you for watching, and see you guys in the class.